Thanks so much, Faz. So this is one of my favorite case studies, right? A ton of really meaty data in here, and hopefully some actionable stuff. And I'm thinking, I actually learned something listening already. I learned something I think I'm going to action, which is August is absinthe month, which I did not know. Any excuse to drink absinthe, and I'm there, so I will definitely go away with that. So what I want to build on here is this concept that, look, so we kind of feel it, we know it, location drives ROI, and you've seen a couple of really powerful case studies here. So maybe you're saying now, okay, well, if I know location drives ROI, how do I go and deploy this into an ongoing strategy? Not just campaign, but actually an ongoing, always-on strategy. So I want to step through a couple of case studies, and the first one is another client at PlaceIQ that's a quick service restaurant. It's not Wendy's. And I want to talk about how these guys really sort of took a crawl, walk, run approach to location from almost a self-serve perspective. Initially, these guys started out and they were doing a lot of videos. So they were serving video ads, and their objective was to drive people in store, but they had no mechanism to measure and understand how successful they were at doing that. So they approached us, and we started working with them. We have a product that's integrated into Google's ad serving infrastructure. So we just stream into Google all of the visits we see to this particular restaurant chain's locations, and then Google goes ahead and matches that up with ads shown. So suddenly these guys, for ads they were serving inside of Google as well as outside of Google, could suddenly understand the ROI of those advertisements to drive specific foot traffic to those locations. And of course, this is a category whereby presence pretty much equals purchase, and not a lot of window shopping goes on. The next thing these guys did is, well, no great surprise, they now started to optimize. They could see what worked, what didn't, what publishers, what creative strategy, what tactics, etc. And the other thing they did is they started buying PlaceIQ's location audiences self-service, meaning we didn't go and sell them something. They started buying through programmatic channels such as Oracle Data Cloud, the PlaceIQ location-based audiences, and started optimizing themselves, all tied to ROI. And what's really powerful is these guys spent about 6 months, and then they approached us and they said, listen, we've been doing a test and learn approach to this internally, and we're convinced that this stuff is now driving ROI in everything we're doing. We're applying location from a measurement perspective, we're applying it from a targeting perspective, and now we want to take that same data set and ingest it internally and use it to make better business decisions. So pretty interesting example of a brand, not us going and selling them, but them starting small, testing and learning, and then it becoming an always-on strategy. Second quick one is CPG. So think about CPG, location sometimes obvious, sometimes not. So this large CPG brand sells a lot of beer, and they had a classic question. We spend a ton of money sponsoring these gigantic sporting events, and we have no idea what the ROI is from that. So help us with that, and help us understand why it's succeeding or why it's failing. So of course you think about location and mobile, the ability to bridge offline, online purchase data. First thing we can do is we can see visits to these stadiums, so mobile devices, anonymous mobile devices going to these stadiums. Now we can connect this to one of our data partners, IRI, that obviously has all of the purchase data. They effectively can take an exposed group, people who are exposed to the stadium advertising, and they can see subsequently to that exposure what was the rate with which these devices purchased a specific beer brand, and now they construct a control, and they could actually see a 2x uplift in the control in the exposed versus the control. It's a super cool case study we presented a few times, and we're trying to get the client to go public with it. So an interesting one as to how we can think about mobile not just as understanding digital, but understanding physical advertising such as out of home and quantifying the ROI on an ongoing basis. So last, we sort of get this construct sometimes of, look, we understand location data, but now in this world we have purchase data, we have digital data. How do these things go together? How does
Is this one?
Think about this idea of, how does location fit into the mix here? This is how we've seen our most successful customers sort of using location alongside digital. They're using location for things like, understanding competitive insight. You can't often get, competitive data from purchase data. You can't get it from digital data all the time. From location data, you can. You can see foot traffic into competitive stores. You think about the idea of cash transactions, better segmentation. So how does this look? You think about, you've got purchase data. If you're a brand or a marketer, you understand purchase data. You see purchases, you see categories. Where you understand digital data, I see site action, I see exposure, etc. Where does location data fit? Well, now in this rest of this funnel, you can understand where people go in the world, how they behave. You can start to understand this idea of, I can see, untainted full view into competitive behaviors. I can now, of course, see people who visit and don't purchase. It's one thing to know somebody came into an apparel store and they bought a product. What about somebody came in and they didn't buy a product? Another really valuable thing. So this is how we've seen these things work together. And lastly, if you were to say, so what are my kind of key takeaways from Vastus and I's presentation here? I think, look, no great surprise, but if you think of this construct of location, for a long time it was a shiny object and we were re-explaining it. It's moved beyond that. It's in that sort of plateau of productivity in the Gartner hype cycle, and there's real ROI. There's case studies from many different companies now. This is a real scale technology that can be deployed in an always-on fashion. And then lastly, again, we used to talk about this, right? Connecting physical and digital, connecting purchase data. We're now in this world where location is not a mobile tactic. It is an omni-channel tactic for understanding, messaging, and optimizing across the entire media mix. And that, is my major takeaway. So with that, thanks very much for your time.
I think we have one. Thank you very much, Duncan. Thank you, Vasilis.